Everyone, I got a lot of good stuff to go over with chapter 33 of Dune. This was a really exciting one, definitely my favorite so far. Before we get into that, as a reminder, I'm an author. I've written a sci fantasy series, The Song of Immaru, Earth's Door. I say series, book 1 is complete and available, ebook, hardback, and audiobook, and book 2 is going to be available in summer of 2026. So go ahead and get book 1 now, information in the description below. If you think a mix of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars with the philosophical light versus darkness undertone sounds exciting, then you'll definitely like this book. So chapter 33 of Dune, this one has a lot of combat in it. So as you recall from the last chapter, if you've seen that video, Jessica and Paul are now with Stilgar, the Fremen leader, and his clan. There is one Fremen in this community, though, who is not thrilled with the fact that most of the rest of the community thinks Jessica is the Sayadina, which is essentially sort of a Bene Gesserit chosen one again. And Jessica's definitely proven to be very competent in battle already, besting Stilgar. But this guy who's not happy, his name is JAMIS, and he challenges Jessica to provide a champion so that if her champion wins, then she is this like woman of prophecy, and if not, then she's just a nobody, which is what he kind of assumes. So Jessica's not thrilled about this because JAMIS wants to fight Paul. But anyway, Stilgar says it's the Amtul role within his community, and basically for Jessica to prove that she is what she is, Paul is going to have to fight. So Jessica allows this to happen, knowing that she can't best the entire community. She basically fight them all, and that would not work out well for her. And Paul, he's frankly pretty chill about it. He's ready to fight. And his fledgling girlfriend, we'll call her Chani, gives Paul some advice on how JAMIS is going to attack. For instance, he tends to switch his blade from one hand to another. And Paul gets ready for a battle. In this battle, he uses his training quite well, and JAMIS is essentially no match for him, so much so that Stilgar's like, quit toying with him, Paul, just wipe him out, finish him up. But Paul is hesitant because he's not really a cold-blooded killer. And at one point, he, rather than killing JAMIS, pauses and says, "Do you yield?" In which Stilgar says, "Hey, Paul, you must not be familiar with this Amtul role. One of you has got to die." So Paul has to follow through with that, and eventually, after battling JAMIS for a bit, he, wraps up the situation. JAMIS is no more, and the whole community is now essentially convinced that Jessica is this chosen one, this Sayadina. And they're all pretty impressed with Paul as well. One thing that I found really interesting in this chapter was that Paul is asked to provide a name for himself after his victory. He's given the name Usul by the community, but the name Paul picks is actually, I think, a small desert mouse that jumps or something, and that is Muad'Dib, and that is the name that has been brought up a lot in the book already, especially in these little sections from Emperor's daughter, where she gives sort of snippets of additional context about what's going on with the Emperor and just higher level narrative throughout the story. It was also interesting because Paul picked that name because in previous dreams, which are essentially, he perceived as prophecies, he was being called Muad'Dib. So this kind of fits with how Frank Herbert's playing with self-fulfilling prophecies. And is it actually a prophecy, or is it just, this interesting sequence of events where people are kind of shaping the future based off of what they think ought to happen from these visions and so forth. Anyway, it was a super interesting chapter, very exciting. In fact, it was last night I was very tired. I'm like, I was gonna read a chapter so I can make a video today. It was a long one, and I thought, I might get halfway through and then probably be too tired to continue. This chapter was so good, it felt like I ran through the whole thing in like a couple of minutes. So awesome writing, it was very well done. I just feel like this book's really hitting its stride more and more now that we're hanging out with the Fremen. Looking forward to the next one. Talk soon. Bye.